welcome back to the pizzeria. Slightly different from us this evening, in reflection of modern working practices. We've had to alter our method of podcasting this evening, so you'll be hearing various opinions on the Scotland team in the form that you're hearing now. Firstly, starting with myself. I thought, and listen, the Clarke conglomerate are going to hate this, much similar to the hate that I was getting on the group chats over the past three or 4 days, but Steve Clarke has proved yet again that I think he's the right man for the job. Now, I've always been a great believer in giving managers a chance at what they've earned. Hibs fans will resonate with that in the sacking of Jack Ross prematurely when he got us to a League Cup semi-final, having beaten Rangers. Steve Clarke, likewise, got us to 2 European Championships, and he deserved a go at those championships. It would be only fair and proper to give him that chance. However, you do remember that he has worked his way up the Nations Leagues as well. We have been promoted to the top league of international football. Unlike England, who were relegated in the last set of fixtures to the B Leagues, Scotland are in the top leagues at the moment, and that was Steve Clarke's accomplishment. And as I say, I think it is right that Steve Clarke was given these chances in these games because he's earned it with this group of players. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have been one of those people that would have knee-jerked after the Euros, said we need someone in with new ideas, a bit of a fresh face to give the players a lift, because it clearly feels like we're at the end of Clarke's tenure, and it clearly looks as if we've reached his ceiling. However, what you've seen from the past few games is that Clarke's got the boys running again. They've responded. We're now competing against teams like Portugal and Croatia and Poland, all of which we were unlucky against not to get more points. He's clearly a coach that can organise a team properly. He isn't one of these managers that just gives buzzwords and doesn't know how to actually implement it. Like, for example, against Portugal, when we parked the bus away from home, that reeked of prime Jose Mourinho, in which he was a prime... he was a member of his coaching staff. He's worked under these managers and he knows the game inside out. He knows how to be a good coach, and that's why he's still there. People can say how they want about getting more out of these players, but he has been incredibly unlucky with injuries, and there's been several games where he's been incredibly unlucky not to get more points if a moment had just went our way or a different decision. And Steve Clarke can't control that. What he can control is how well organised the side is. And by the way, in these last few games, he has shown that he is the man to get the most out of these players. And by the way, we're missing the likes of Aaron Hickey, Kieran Tierney and John McGinn. And others, many others will cite, but that's got to count for something. He's definitely someone that can organise a team, so I'm sorry, but it's Clarke in for me and another few great performances. And I think what I was most impressed with in Clarke is that we're back to dogging games out, being difficult to play against, spoiling, nipping at players, difficult to break down. That's what Scotland were great at back in the day. We used to revel in the 1-0 victories, against Israel and such. That was us at our best. And by the way, we hadn't had that for such a long time, grinding out results. That was what was so impressive about the Scotland team, and we seem to have that back. We seem to have that bite factor again. And I was always critical of Clarke's selections of late. For example, I didn't feel Kenny McLean was up to the level. He carried that midfield against Portugal last night. Grant Hanley, another one I'm always critical of. He was solid, didn't he make a mistake against Portugal, which is huge. Now, a lot of people will be looking at the game thinking, well, that was a shite watch. Didn't enjoy that. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take a shite, horrible game every single week if we're grinding out a performance and a result like that. I'll take that every day of the week. Why? Because we're competing. And if he's getting the best out of players like for example, Kenny McLean, then happy days, because guess what? Our big hitters, like Andy Robertson and John McGinn, they haven't been returning worldly performances as you need from your big players in internationals. That's a renown factor, but we've not had that, and he's getting the most out of other players, and that's absolutely crucial. But now to Stu for his opinions.
Thanks very much, Innes. So this is my thoughts on the Scotland Nations League games that we just had, as well as sort of Steve Clarke's future. And you probably noticed there as well that Innes had some audio issues where he had to cut and record, so he does have a few cars going past him. Apologies for that. But yeah, onto my thoughts. I thought it was a positive week for Scotland in terms of the Nations League. I think a lot of fans, a lot of us were sort of behind the Steve Clarke out brigade. As you take this Nation League as a whole, has he deserved a bit more time? Possibly. I think it's very hard to sort of sum it up with just 2 games. You know, if you're having, what was it, 1 win in 16, if you're having that many poor games, and each sort of week, international week, we've been judging him from the Euros, really, we've been judging him and that he should leave and walk, and it time's up. Does 2 sort of strong performances undo all that other work? I'm not so sure. I think I was in an 80-20 sort of mark of wanting Clarke out, mainly on the 20 being that you're not sure who's going to come in. Ideally, David Moyes, you're never sure who's going to come in and whether they're going to improve it. I think I've slightly come down on that. I'm probably still 60-40 that I want Clarke out, because I just think it's time to freshen up. I've always thought, certainly international level, you're looking for, maybe at club level as well, you're looking for someone to come in and progress the team to a new level. That will be their remit, and then someone else will come in and take the team at that level, and they'll push it on to another level. I think Clarke has absolutely hit that remit. I think he came in a time where we were really struggling, and obviously he got us to Euros. Yes, it was through the back door in the Nations League, but he doesn't make the rules. That's in place, and we qualify through it, and we beat a good Serbia team to do it. In terms of the next round for the Euros, or the next Euros, he did that, blood, sweat, and tears, and we qualified for a difficult group of Spain and Norway. And I don't think that should be sort of looked down upon, because that's a very good group, and you sort of seen how Georgia have gone on from there, and how good they were at the Euros, another team that we had to come past. So I think he absolutely earned the Euros. Did he earn this Nations League? For me, I'm not so sure. I think that the time to maybe see the Clarke leave and a new direction being taken was right after the Euros. I think we were really poor. We didn't really, implement a style at the Euros. We didn't really impose ourselves on any games, and it was just really disappointing. All the excitement that we had of getting there again, and the enjoyment of it, and it was sort of just, we crashed back down to earth with real disappointment. I thought that was the time. That was the time that you move Clarke on, say thank you, you've done so much for us. Now it's time for someone else to come in, especially with Moyes being available, as he is now. So yeah, I think with him being kept on, it didn't surprise me, because I think we are stuck in our ways a little bit. Probably not just Scotland, but any of the teams from United Kingdom and Ireland as well, to a degree. They all sort of stick with what they've got for maybe too long at times, and it does bite you in the arse sometimes. Sometimes they come through it and they prove, they go on to have long managerial careers, and everything else is golden by the end of it, and they leave a hero. I just thought it was probably time up, and the way the Nations League was, with us being in the top division, albeit we could have had tougher groups in the top division. Croatia and Poland, both really, really good sides, but sides that certainly at Hampden you're thinking we could probably win those, if not draw. And Portugal, you're just hoping that you get a point, or if everything goes right, you get 3 points. So I didn't think it was the worst group. Yes, it's League A, and we get this sort of, we're in the top league, and England are in League B, which is fantastic. It is great to sort of look down upon them, but at the same time, I actually don't think it's impossible for us to or it wasn't impossible for us to look at second or third place in this group as a realistic opportunity. And we flattered to deceive in those first two games. I know we were a bit unlucky, with the 2-1 loss, but at the same time, you could say we're unlucky in both games really, the 2-1 loss and the 3-2 loss to Poland and Croatia respectively. But both times, did we do enough in those games to earn those wins? I think we were. We can feel hard done by the end of it being so late and whatever Grant Hanley thought he was doing in the penalty box. But would we have really deserved it? I don't really think so. I don't think we were good enough in those games. But it's not about that sometimes. Sometimes it's about if that's the style we're going to get and it's working for us, then fair play. It's not been working for us, and that's why it's 1 win in 16. That being said, on the plus side of Clarke, we did look against Portugal. We sort of sat in a bit more, which you're going to have to do. You're away at Portugal. It's to be expected. I mean, you saw that front three um, come out, and you're looking at the likes of Rafael Leao and obviously Ronaldo and Jota, and then there's Bernardo Silva to come on. There's Bruno Fernandes. You can go for that team. There's stars everywhere. So it's we weren't going to be able to play open against them. I get that, and it was going to be a case of us maybe not passing the halfway line that often. But I thought we were very, very good in how we implemented our style, and we sort of suffocated Portugal's attacking threats quite a bit. Obviously, Craig Gordon comes up with that huge save at the end, but bar that, we missed a sitter as well from McTominay. So it's not like it was chance after chance for Portugal. I thought, you know, we repelled them very well. Yes, we were defending for a lot, but I don't think we were defending clear cut chances. And shout out to some of the players there as well, because Grant Hanley got obviously pelters for some of his performances, rightly so, I think, to a degree. But he was massive for us in that game, and John Suter's come in now, and he was a colossus. And I think he's probably got to be the starting centre back. If we're going forward, then for me, Suter is, if he's available, he is the first choice centre back. He's had his problems at Rangers at times, but he's been very good for Rangers this season as well. So I think him and someone else, whether that is Hanley, I'm not so sure long term, but I think Suter's probably at least earned the next sort of few fixtures to bed himself in even more. But yeah, everyone else has been superb. I mean, McTominay has been a star, I think, ever since he's played for Scotland. He's been fantastic. Kenny McLean, like Innes we mentioned, Kenny McLean was brilliant against Portugal. And it's finding that balance. I don't like seeing a League One striker come on for a Serie A striker, but that's probably where we are right now. Um, and to be fair, I mean, he's done one thing, Dykes. He brings the ball down out of the air and takes some pressure off us, so you can't really argue with that. But on the positives, listen, I've mentioned it myself. The 1 in 16, it makes for horrendous reading. But if you look before the 1 in 16, it was 8 wins in 10 games. It was 1 loss in 10 games. It was eight of those being wins, which included, Spain and Ireland and Norway and Ukraine. So they were big wins as well. On the flip side, you look at the 1 in 16. There's some difficult teams in there. Obviously, there was England and Spain, France, Netherlands, Germany, Portugal as well. You can name through them. But then on the flip side of that, I'm looking at teams like Hungary and Poland to a degree, Finland certainly, Northern Ireland certainly, Georgia was one of the draws as well. So although we've had a very tough run of fixtures, and I do appreciate that we're in League A, so they are going to be even tougher now. It shouldn't be 1 win in 16 like that. That is a really worrying stat, and that has to change soon, because although there's a tiny bit of a feel good factor that's starting to resonate again, it can all be undone if we get relegated bottom of the group and we're 1 win in 18 by the end of it. Then there's a real question of, well, we're going into the World Cup qualifiers. Has Clarke done enough to get the World Cup qualifiers as well? Um, so yeah, there's question marks for me. I think there's probably more questions that have come out of this than answers, because it's taken me back from the edge of wanting him out to now thinking maybe he can take us forward. Um, but again, it can all change in November, and I think we've really got to start looking at the future and the World Cup qualifiers. Is it time to just give a new man a chance there, or does Clarke get the start of it? And if that goes wrong, we try and move him on then, and then we're in a bit of trouble. because we're probably not going to qualify for the World Cup if we start really poorly. So yeah, like I said, more questions than answers for me. But overall, I'm sort of happy after that international break, which hasn't been the case too often lately. Thought we could have got more out of Croatia, certainly. And yeah, the Portugal game, I thought we were really good. And yeah, I just think you can't sort of downgrade the performance, albeit at Hampden. I think I might have even said it was away earlier. I meant at Hampden, against Portugal when we lost in Portugal. Obviously, you're not going to open up away from home, but you're not going to open up too much at home to Portugal either, because of how much they can punish you with quality all over the pitch. So I think, yeah, a positive experience overall for the international break. Hopefully the sign that good times are around the corner again for us. But let's see what November brings. I'm not sort of jumping all in or all out just yet. I sort of want to see what November brings, but it certainly sets it up. And to have 1 point after 4 games and still actually be in contention of not getting relegated, probably the best we could have hoped for at this stage. So yeah, let's see where it goes from here. That's sort of my thoughts on it. I think finally we are going to hand the reins over to Kieran, our resident Partick Thistle fan, and he is going to take us through what he thought about the international break. Hopefully not as depressing as me, but we'll see. So take it away, Kieran.
So Stu, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me on. I'm looking forward to discuss and talk about the two Scotland games, both away to Croatia, on Saturday and on Tuesday night when we welcomed Portugal to Hampden. First of all, regarding to the starting 11 on Saturday night, I thought Craig Gordon was a welcomed addition back into the squad, and taking back his place as number one goalkeeper for Scotland. I thought, as good as Angus Gunn was before the Euros, I think it was time for a change in between the sticks. I felt his performance at Euros, it was pretty disappointing. And then obviously these two Nations League games as well. The first two Nations League games against Poland and Portugal, I felt it was quite disappointing there as well. I felt he could have probably saved, probably could have done better for some of the Portugal goals as well as that. Obviously, first of all, we shouldn't be making the mistakes that we made. The defensive errors that we made that night against Poland, but that's, again, we've discussed that at length on the previous Scotland pod. But more so away to Portugal, it's just these fine margins that are costing us, that have cost us points. And I felt we were more than deserved of a point away to Lisbon, probably even more. Some might say we were deserved of a win, but deserving of a win. But I felt Angus Gunn could have done better for the first goal. But saying that, obviously he did keep us in it, kept the scoreline down, making like triple, double, and triple saves at one point. Which all credit to him. But I felt definitely a change needed to happen, and it feels weird talking about that. Normally when you're talking about a change, you're wanting a young goalkeeper in to kind of freshen things up, but no, we're talking about a 41-year-old Craig Gordon who just doesn't know when his time's up yet, and all credit to him. I don't have any issues with him regaining back his starting spot in between the sticks. I felt he was fantastic on Saturday night. I felt he more often than not kept us in the game on Saturday night. I felt he made a few couple of saves, very good couple of saves actually, against Croatia. Obviously, we'll talk about his performance when we get to the Portugal game. But I felt he was more than comfortable in the game against Croatia. The only thing about the starting 11, though, I would say I would have started Che Adams over Landon Dykes on the Saturday. We seen when he came on Saturday, nearly scored. almost instantly with a kind of hooked kind of volley. Obviously, it was just miles wide, and then obviously these equaliser, which we thought was the last equaliser right to the death. Obviously, it was chopped off by VAR, as always. But I thought Shea Adams was fantastic, and he probably should have started over Dykes on the Saturday. Obviously, again, I would have probably started a right back. I would have obviously we had Ralston. I don't think it was that bad again on Saturday, but after the Poland and Portugal games, I felt I would have started Ralston. I would have started perhaps McKenzie, or as we've seen in a short cameo on Tuesday night, and again we'll get to the Portugal game later on. I thought maybe Nicky Devlin or whatever, but aye, and then obviously at centre back, is the biased Thistle fan that I am. I would have absolutely loved to have seen Liam Lindsay start over Hanley, because I felt Hanley's just had his time in the team now. I think it's time for someone else to step in. But obviously, he went with his trusted, back line of defence again. And I don't even think we were bad, but yeah, I think there had a few hairy moments as well on Saturday. But the thoughts on the game itself for Saturday night, I thought we were all right. I thought in the first half we created more than enough chances. Obviously, we get a goal, which was well taken, albeit it was aided in by a deflection. I think it came off Sakic. I think he was awarded with the own goal, but I thought it was well taken by Christie. Nonetheless, to get anything on of it of value from that tight angle, and it was good. It was incredible. So all power to him. I felt we deserved the point. To be honest, I thought I was quite disheartened. Obviously, I felt Croatia grew more into the game as soon as I got the equaliser, which was kind of just, I don't know whether it was poor marking. You could say that, not picked up their man, or simply just flat fast flowing football by Croatia, and you just can't do anything about that. I think it's probably a mix of all of the factors, but again, you can't take away the goal. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was good. The second goal was a bit scrappy, mind you, but it's never easy with Scotland, I suppose. But still, I thought we had our chances of our own. We obviously had, I think Christie had a shot. He just could have put past the post in the second half. We obviously had like Shea Adams as well. Shea Adams come on and kind of made a real impact, I felt. And I'm a massive lover of Shea Adams. I love him. I will defend that man until I'm blue in the face. There's a lot of people that don't rate him. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I feel the work he does off the ball is second to none. I've always rated it. And that's not a slight on Dykes. I think Dykes has his own attributes. I think he's very, a very rough and tumble sort of striker, and you need that. But I thought it should have been a game for Shea Adams on Saturday night rather than Dykes. And again, that's not a slight on Dykes at all. I felt he was a big miss at the Euros as well, but that's another conversation for another day. But Shea Adams, I felt was good when he came on. He obviously nearly scored straight away, and then he got the almost equaliser, which was obviously called off by VAR. But yeah, I thought Croatia battled us, but we had our chances of our own, and we probably should have put them away. Another team on the day puts that away. And when you get chances like those, you need to take them at this level. Especially when you're up against this calibre of opponents, you need to take them. And obviously it wasn't to be, and I felt quite disheartened that we never took the draw, but we're like kind of left scratching our heads as to why we weren't off the board as of yet, as of after Saturday. We're like, what do we have to do, you know what I mean? And then going on to the Portugal game on Tuesdays, we welcomed Portugal to Hampden. I didn't feel confident at all. I was saying to people that I predicted a 3-1 loss for Scotland. I felt we were going to score, but I thought we were going to get beat. And Gordon obviously retained his goal, his number one spot. And generally, I don't think there's another keeper like as of the now. Obviously, we've had Angus Gunn and he's been all right, but he had a disappointing Euros, and I think he needed some time out. And I don't think there's another keeper you want in between the sticks than Craig Gordon, no matter who you are. I feel he's incredibly reliant when called upon. I'm struggling right now, probably maybe Ireland away and Ukraine at home, the playoff game, are the only two games you're sitting thinking he's had a bad game. But I think he's when called upon, I think he's fantastic. And you know, as someone when you've had a keeper in for so long, like Angus Gunn, and you want somebody in to kind of freshen up, you're looking at a young goalkeeper to come in and kind of freshen things up. And no, we're going for a 41-year-old goalkeeper in Craig Gordon, and long way to continue. I feel he was fantastic on Tuesday night, and also on Saturday, as I said. I felt he kept us in it. I felt he was commanding. He was very well in commanding his box. I think he was coming out for crosses fantastically. Some of the saves he was pulling off as well. Obviously, you've seen the one. I think it's off of this one where Leal runs down the wing, crosses it to someone, and Craig Gordon just catches it. It's like in the 86th, 87th minute. It's just, I think he's so trusted, and there's no other keeper I want in the starting and in between the sticks as of now, which is mental to say, especially after his injury as well. Defensively on Tuesday night, I thought we were fantastic. And credit where credit's due goes to Ralston and Hanley, who have come under fire, and have come under a lot of criticism from most people that I know who are Scotland fans. They've criticised Hanley and Ralston, but I felt more so Ralston had a fantastic game on Tuesday. Obviously, I felt Hanley was all right. But maybe undershadowed by how well Suter played. I thought he was amazing, and we'll get on him in a bit. But I felt Ralston was good, and he marshalled down that right hand side well. If you're talking about standouts for Tuesday night, I don't think I think John Suter's got to be mentioned. He was well deserved. In getting the man in the match, I thought he was fantastic. I think he handled that Portugal Portugal attack, with ease. He was winning the ball very well in the air. He was fantastic with the ball at his feet, and I generally think no one can begrudge him of starting, being one of your starting centre backs. I felt it was like we've needed a cam head at the back for a while now, and I think we've got that in Suter. So long may that continue, and he seems to have built up a bit of a partnership with Craig Gordon as well, and you could see that at the full time. At the scenes at full time when he was up hugging Craig Gordon, congratulating him on his efforts. As I don't think they two can be. They two just can't be mentioned if you're talking about standouts from Wednesday. I thought Portugal, they played all right. I thought they obviously dominated the ball well and passed the ball about well. But I wasn't really that impressed looking back on it. Yes, they had their chances, but they never put them away. Ronaldo was just firing shots for shots' sake, and nothing was coming of it. I felt we kept him very quiet. On another day, Ronaldo scoring about 3 or 4. We managed to get underneath his skin, and you could see that at the end of full time where he was fucking whinging at the referee and you name it, and just being a petulant little toddler and moaning. And it was really good to get one up on that man. yeah, I felt weird. I felt like Portugal did have their chances, but we can't say that we didn't. Obviously McTominay's header in the 4th minute. You know, if he headers that any other direction for the way he went, that's going in. But I think there was not enough power generated from the ball from Tony Ralston. It was a fantastic ball, but you know, I think Ralston had to generate a bit more power in the cross for McTominay, because he basically had to generate all the power himself. I thought McTominay was good on Tuesday night as well. Probably not a standout, I would say, but I thought he was good. So he obviously had a couple of chances that night. I thought Ryan Gold, when he came on, was fantastic. Lewis Morgan I was very impressed by as well. I don't know. I think like Alex Marr's going to love me, but I generally think Gold should be starting for us as well, which I didn't think I'd be ever fucking saying that in my years following Scotland. I feel like a Dundee United fan saying that. But I thought we played well on Tuesday night. We were unlucky not to get all three, but we were very deserved of our point. And on another day against any other opposition, I think we actually take all three, to be honest, but we just need to take our chances. It's a story of not taking our chances and not burying them, but you know, thankfully the opposition didn't take their chances either. And obviously, without talking about the big elephant in the room, Steve Clarke came under a lot of criticism as of late, particularly after the Euros. And obviously the Northern Ireland game was a bit of an embarrassment. He didn't play well in the friendlies really, before the Euros. And then, as I said, Euros was a bit of a disappointment for me personally. After then, I was very much in the Steve Clarke out camp. I was, or at least very close to it. And then the Poland and Portugal game and Poland and Portugal games in September kind of made me edge a bit closer towards wanting them out. I could understand why people still want them out, but I feel after Tuesday night, it's a point to build on. We're now off the mark, which is great. It's a massive point to get against Portugal. If you told me before Tuesday night you were getting a point and a clean sheet against Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal, you would fucking take it. I don't think anybody would turn your nose up at that. But the Windruffs run, the Windruffs run a form that we're on at the moment is unacceptable and does still need addressed. But I think with time that win will come. You can see it. They're wanting to get that win. The squad is wanting to get that win. So therefore, I do believe Steve Clarke should still get the qualifiers. That's what his contract's up until. So I feel he should get it. He's got enough credit in the bank, I feel. But this is not me saying, oh, Steve Clarke's a man, this blah, 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 blah. We should still keep in mind, it's not so much safety's job, I think. I think it's earned them more credit in the bank and earned them time for the qualifiers. Part of our Cup qualifiers, we need to qualify. We haven't qualified for a World Cup since 1998. And I think that's what's holding Steve Clarke back from not so much being a legend, but because he's got us to two Euros, but the thing that's holding him back is that World Cup qualification, I feel. So I think he needs it personally. But yeah, I think give him time, give him the qualifiers and see how that pans out. And if they don't get him, then I think it's time for a change.
So there we have it. That was Kieran's thoughts. Thank you very much to Kieran. And of course, thank you to Innes, who kicked things off with this new format that we're trying here. I say new format. It might only be a one-off, but we had to get something out. Obviously, there was some scheduling conflict, so we couldn't get a full podcast out. Instead, we've opted for this audio-based only podcast, but hopefully it was a little tidbit and enough to keep your appetite whet before we return at the weekend for the club football. The real football is back, so we're all going to be looking forward to that. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Salmon's Pizzeria. Thank you again to Innes and Kieran. If you like what you hear, please consider liking and subscribing on YouTube. If you listen to this on any audio platform, then please consider giving us a 5-star rating. All ratings, all likes, all comments especially are much appreciated, as it helps the algorithm, pushes the podcast, and we can obviously do bigger and better things in the future. And keep your eyes peeled, because we've got some very special things coming starting in November, but especially the big one in December. So keep your eyes peeled. Thank you very much.